Welcome in, everyone, to yet another episode of the Three-Man Weave College Basketball Show presented by SportsbookReview.com. I'm Matt. That's Ky. That's Jim. Order has been restored. I'm back in Chicago with my lovely collage in the background. Ky never left Chicago. Jim never left the desert. Well, yes, Ky's been back for longer than I've been back after my West Coast tour. But yes, it just feels right. There's a sense of familiarity and comfort, me being back in my primary saddle here. Fellas, and then there were six. A lot of weird stuff happening in last night's game. We will get to that in a second. A quick recap, as well as break down tonight's two Elite Eight matchups. Talk about how Oregon State will haunt my memories, my nightmares forever. I cannot escape the Beaver voodoo magic. Wayne Tinkle finds a way to cover yet again. Luckily, I no longer get to fade them. We'll get to takeaways. Again, a quick recap of last night. Talk about tonight's matchup. But first, a quick message from the folks at SPR.
Hey everyone, it's Flash here from SportsbookReview.com, and it's less than 2 weeks away till we smell the azaleas. We drive down Magnolia Lane and someone's going to get a green jacket. So that means we're at Augusta. It's the Masters. Now, how would you like to win $200 courtesy of SBR? All you've got to do is send a little video mini clip in of giving me your winner and your outsider. And your outsider must be of plus 5,000 or more. So it goes something like this. Hi, I'm Gordon Watson. My winner is Dustin Johnson. My outsider is Brant Snedeker. And what you've got to do is send that in to videoteam@sbrforum.com. You've got till Wednesday, the 31st of March, midnight Eastern time. No more will be accepted after that, because on the 5th of April, live on the Masters Show, I'm going to show your clips prior to the expert picks. So remember, send your video clip into videoteam@sbrforum.com. We'll show the world that you know what you're talking about. It's the Masters, and you take care.
Yes, a tradition unlike any other. The Masters. Just the most wonderful time of the year right now. We have Final Four slowly approaching the Masters this weekend. Ky, a tradition unlike any other for you has been riding this Beaver gravy train. Just, do you want to gloat about just how they continue to cover, or do you have any other takeaways from last night's Elite Eight two-fer?
Well, Matt, there's no point in. Don't gloat when you win bets. That's
so
not
humble. So humble.
That's not a good move.
The
Beavers.
I agree.
Great run by the Beavers, Matt. I think you should get a tattoo of a beaver on yourself. I think that would be fitting.
I agree.
For fading them every single time since the Pac-12 tournament. It would be funny because you'd have a beaver on your body. And the Oregon State Beavers were a fun team this year. So tip of the cap, good cover yesterday. Great second half for the Beavers. Baylor, Jim, snuck out with a cover. That one got a little sweaty. They were dominating Arkansas in the first 10 minutes. I said, man, blowout 40-point game at the start of it. But Arkansas, credit to them. They clawed back. But, Jim, the right two teams are in the Final Four. We're happy about it.
Correct on that. Matt, you started the show talking about normalcy, and there's nothing more normal than charge calls ruining or potentially ruining college basketball games.
Yep.
And Davion Mitchell getting banished to the bench with a terrible third foul in the first half. J.D. Notae fouling out on an awful charge call with 14 minutes remaining in the game, which why is he in there with 4 fouls? Why is he making straight line drives with 4 fouls? There's so much wrong with that. But man, that was probably the most normal everything has felt. But my real takeaway is just Davion Mitchell. Like he was unbelievable.
Yes.
He completely took over in the second half. They basically just started running. I was making fun of the Arkansas offense yesterday morning's show, but Baylor was just isolation for Davion Mitchell. Like they'd run a ball screen to get a switch, and he would just attack off the bounce, and he was unstoppable. He's so quick. I thoroughly enjoyed the work of Mr. Mitchell yesterday, Matt.
Yeah, he was awesome. Almost went away from their mover blocker screens. They like to get Teague and Butler and Mitchell sometimes coming off those, and quickly it was apparent that no one on the floor or in the gym could guard Davion Mitchell. And Scott Drew just said, okay, we'll clear out and let him go to work. A shame that we had to see him right on the bench. I think that's the whole charge epidemic has gotten pretty out of control. I'm sure we'll be whining about that all off season. Hopefully our voices can be heard. Chat mob, please join us. Get your pitchforks, get your fireballs. Let's go invade the NCAA's rule office and let's get this changed. It's ruining the sport. I hate it. Quick pile on top of Jim's take. Let's get right into tonight's matchups. I think, did anything else about last night? I think let's just get into the two tonight.
Let's go
maybe
tonight.
Maybe quick reactions for the Final Four, the two that are already set. But first, USC Gonzaga. Man, the first time we've seen actual money come in against the Zags, and sure enough, This USC fight on train, Ky, has been full steam ahead so far. I go back and forth this USC team. I mean, I don't think any of us think they are a fraud, but I think we all can see that this is a clear top 10-ish team, wherever you want to draw the where along that spectrum. This is a clearly legit team. However, you can poke some holes at the results recently. They've certainly made plenty of shots that we don't necessarily believe are sustainable. They've definitely got some favorable matchup draws. Most recently, Oregon. We talked about those concerns when we broke down that matchup. Do you see any similar matchup edge here against the big bad Zags?
I mean, first of all, I'm surprised that there's steam on USC. That shocks me. People are betting on USC. Hey, they've been playing awesome. They're up to 6th in KenPom. They're certainly a very good team. They have the size, right? That it's been scaring teams. But Gonzaga is one of the few teams in the country that actually has the size to compete with USC. No one's talking about Gonzaga's size. Timmy, Watson, big guards, right? They have the size to battle USC, in my opinion. And guys, still, Jim, it's a single-digit spread. The only game Gonzaga's played under 10 points this year, West Virginia, December 2nd. Yeah. I think Gonzaga handles USC. I think it's going to be a good game, but I will take the Zags minus 8.5.
Yep, I will too. I will be a Gonzaga boy here. I actually took -9. I would love minus 8.5, even -8. I saw in a couple places right now. Everybody just wants to be like, oh, Zags weakness, interior defense, USC has size, they're screwed. Here's what the media won't tell you. USC is in the 38th percentile on post-ups. Evan Mobley, 23rd percentile. He's a bad post-up player. Like, you can't just throw him the ball against Drew Timme and expect easy points. Like, that's not the way they run their offense. He's more of like kind of a lob threat. He can score a little bit more in space. If they're just like trying to throw the ball inside for post-ups, I think Gonzaga's going to shrug and say, good luck. Like, you're going to score 0.85 points per possession on those. We'll deal with it. The question is whether USC shoots 60+% again from three, which they've done the last two games, 10 of 17, 11 of 18. Yeah. They do that again, sure, they can certainly compete. But I feel like we say that about every single Gonzaga opponent. If they're hot from downtown, then they can compete. And like it happens somewhat, but not really. Creighton got a bunch of threes early from Zagorowski, hung around, then they lost by 25. It's just, unless you're hot the whole game, it's so hard to hang with this offense. I think the Zags are patient enough offensively. They can score inside and out. Even with the size that USC has, I think they will get smart shots. They will hit cutters, move around the Mobleys, even if they're in that zone. So I am a Gonzaga boy here, Matt.
Yep, I'm on Gonzaga as well. Love that I'm getting some early steam coming against me so I can maybe try and hop in an 8 if it falls on their half point. I'm curious how far this goes. I got to think, given the consistent money Gonzaga's taken so far, there's probably going to be some buyback before it before it ever levels off at 8. So, yeah, I guess it's a weave trifecta consensus across the board. I don't really have any other strong matchup takes here, Ky.
I got a couple of things real quick. Jim mentioned the Creighton game. Yeah, like Creighton gave them a hell of a shot to start the game, and it was like nothing. It's like those old action movies when the guy gets hit and he kind of like wipes off the blood and goes, it doesn't matter. then he wins the fight. Gonzaga is just an incredible team. One of the best teams, arguably the best team in the last 20 years. So this is going to be a challenge for USC, Matthew. Also, transition. USC usually stops it, but if they try to run with Gonzaga, more possessions equals bad news, I think, for the Trojans. Overlean, guys, over-underlean. I lean the over. Nothing strong there.
Yeah, I would lean over. I think that like all the talk about is the size and the fact that USC has size inside and maybe that can bother Gonzaga, but I mean, how much better are Gonzaga's guards than USC's? I'm sorry. Like these guys are solid, but they're all mid-major transfers except for Ethan Anderson, who is, I'm not in his fan club to put it bluntly. Isaiah White's not going to go 7 for 9 from 3 like he's been the last two games. I think the length of the Gonzaga guards and just how solid they are on defense, they're going to make USC hit tough shots. It's not going to be an easy game for them. So I think the Gonzaga defense might actually be the difference maker here.
Yeah, I think the X factor for me is Jalen Suggs. Drew Timme has been awesome. As Jimmy pointed out, the post-up concerns. Everyone thinks that this is a great, post-up defending team because they're a great interior defending team, USC. Those two things are not synonymous. But I still think Drew Timme will be bothered a little bit by the length. We forget about Jalen Suggs. He is the sort of, NBA star talent that doesn't always dominate, lets his teammates get involved, but he picks his spots when he needs to. And we've seen him go nuclear. And I think this is sort of the Jalen Suggs game that everyone is promptly reminded how special a player he is. So I'm looking for a big game from him. I'm not sure what the over/under on the prop is, but I think that's that'd be a good over. I think it's probably in the mid-teens. But anyway, let's move forward. Talk about UCLA, Michigan, the second of tonight's Elite Eight showdown. The Bruins continue to wave the Pac-12 banner loud, high, and proud. I just cannot fathom how this team has made this run. I mean, the Alabama game was, Jim, you mentioned it when we talked about, hey, Alabama has a propensity to look mortal. They did. I think UCLA deserves some credit for the way they defended. They kept Alabama out of transition. Though I do think it's very house of cardsy.
If you make free throws, that game's a 10-point win in regulation. That's all you got to do.
Kind of another epidemic that's sweeping through college basketball. Just so many clutch, high leverage spots. Kids just cannot knock down those freebies. Anyway, all that aside, what are you looking at in this matchup with Michigan here? I'm inclined to think Michigan runs them out of the building, but I've said that a couple times along this run against the Bruins, and I've been wrong.
Yeah, I'm on the favorite again here. I'm on Michigan. I for a while was like, oh, they're going to miss Livers. It's really going to affect them, and it hasn't. They've inserted Brandon Johns into the starting lineup, which he's not the same player. He's a little bigger, less of an outside shooting threat. He's okay, but he's much less of an outside shooting threat. But the key part of that, it's allowed every other guy to stay in the same role. Like they're still running offense a lot through Mike Smith offensively. Brooks has stepped up. Shondy Brown has been an absolute fireball off the bench. And I like just the fact that they didn't have to switch Brown into the starting lineup and kind of shift everybody's responsibilities has been huge. I don't think UCLA can handle Dickinson inside. He really has struggled with people that are as big as him, and as physical as Cody Riley is, he's not. He's not as big as Dickinson. I think they can play through him, get the defense moving. Defensively, maybe they're giving up some size, but look, we just saw these small guards from Michigan hold up just fine against Florida State size. So against a UCLA team that, other than Tiger Campbell, is like 6'6" across the board, I'm still not that worried about it. I trust Juwan Howard. I trust Martelli. Their game planning. I think Michigan is the play here for me. Ky, what do you see?
Good point by Dewan in the chat here. Yeah, Michigan State should have beaten UCLA in the first round. We would not be talking about the Bruins had they just held on that league. But guys, overarching, Isaiah Livers doesn't matter. Chris Smith doesn't matter. Major injuries. Both these teams bounced back or have bounced back, currently bouncing back from losing major players. Both impressive this tournament. Really have to tip your caps to both teams. I agree with Jim. I don't think UCLA scores very easily in this game. Michigan locked down inside. They rebound. They take away the three. UCLA, not usually a big three-point shooting team, but in the tournament they have been. They found a lot of success from back there. And I've pretty much bought in, Matt, on this Michigan team overall in general. They have a ton of weapons. If it's not Dickinson, it's Wagner. If it's not Wagner, it's, to Jim's point, Brandon Johns out of nowhere. Shondy Brown, Mike Smith, Eli Brooks, all these players are capable of leading this team in scoring. It's just way more weapons than I think the most perceive when they just see Dickinson and Wagner. It really is truly a very, very good team. I like Michigan here, -6.5, slightly into the under if I had to choose a total side.
Yeah, again, another one we're seeing a little bit of money coming on UCLA. I believe this opened at 7 at most places per the SPR odds page.
Seeing 7.5.
Even 7.5, some bucks. Okay, yeah.
Chris,
so almost a whole point of value. Like the Gonzaga take we mentioned earlier, I just would be surprised if it went any lower. So if you want to join us, I'll make this a second straight consensus. I'm on Michigan as well. If you want to join the Weavers, now's the time to hop in. Maybe by the 0.5 to 6. Seems like every spread has been, come right down to the wire the last few games. So I
don't abide the.
I know me and Jim have big disagreements on the 0.5-point thing. I just mentally can't live with myself.
For the record.
Okay, I can't live with myself when that hook does not, when it lands, when I lose by the hook, I don't buy the point. But anyway, that aside, Brandon Johns is really impressed. I think Jim mentioned this. He's more versatile than I think people gave him credit for. He is more like Livers than I think people gave him credit for. Fills that void seamlessly, and the guards continue to ho hum along. They're like robots out there. I mean, Smith and Brooks are no emotion. Just they know the role. They make the right play every time. They're just two cogs in the overall armor. Mega impressed with Michigan. Now they know that Livers is out, right? There's no will he return? It's just this is the team they have. They're comfortable with that. I like the mentality. I like the way they're playing. And yeah, UCLA, I'm just not buying in. Call it an Oregon State Pac-12 anti-bias, but this just feels like the run comes to a close here tonight. But yeah, no strong matchup takes. Just think the line's too low. I think it should be closer to 9. But Anything else here? Over under total takes, Ky? I see it opened at 139, so some early action here on the under.
Where are you getting your opener, my guy?
It's like
SBR. Do I have my? Okay.
Yeah,
sorry.
you must
have a bad book set for the default.
You're not pulling the Chris as the opener.
It's on me. Go ahead. So 137, you're saying?
137.5 open. Yeah.
Yeah, down to like 136-ish. I lean the under in this game. Like I said, I think Michigan really stops what UCLA wants to do on offense. I kind of see this being a double-digit game, so late fouling I don't think comes into play. I really think Michigan just handles things. I just want to point out the KenPom rankings once again here. USC, number 6, right, in the country in KenPom, 6th seed. UCLA is up to 16th in KenPom, 11th seed. And we know about the Loyola story. It's just interesting to see these quote-unquote good teams analytically with these low seeds making deep runs into the tournament.
Well, to be fair, UCLA is 45th at the start of the tournament.
Yes, they've made a huge run up the standings. That's
the whole Pac-12 has risen. We made the point. I tweeted it yesterday.
Washington,
Washington's up 40 spots without playing. Utah's up to 44th from 75th without playing. So the analytics have certainly gotten more additional non-conference games, and the Pac-12 has shown out, which has really, really helped.
Yeah, no, just to contextualize that, KenPom has this as a 5-point game, and so right now we're talking about a 6.5-point spread. So the odds makers, I think, are smart enough to say this is not a top. So UCLA ranks 16th in KenPom. They're saying this is not a 16th top 15, 20 team, but they're probably putting it within the 20 to 25 range. I still think that's too high. I don't think UCLA is within that. They haven't played like that for most of the year.
And that's KenPom has a 5 with Isaiah Livers
Isaiah
pulled out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't make adjustments. So so honestly, if you made that adjustment, then KenPom would probably have this even closer. Again, I think we have to tip our caps the odds maker. This is a pretty sharp line, but I still think it's too low. So sounds like it's a Michigan sweep across the board again.
Favorite boys.
Favorite boys. Yes.
Favorites.
Dogs were good in the Sweet 16, but the favorites are starting to come out with some vengeance here in the Elite Eight. I think we all would agree that Houston was the right side. But I'm not going to take anything away from those of you who cast out tickets.
They tied it up, man. They tied it up.
I don't know. The game was buried. They were just lollygagging in the second half on offense. I don't know what the hell that was.
The 1-3-1. Tinkle went 1-3-1.
Yeah, Tinkle,
and
that's
Houston
right.
melted down.
Fellas, any other takes or any props or futures talk? I have nothing else to say on these two matchups.
There were actually 2 questions on props. You want to hit them real quick. I don't know if I have a take here. Z Money asked Evan Mobley under 15.5 points. Again, I really don't have a feel for props.
I think they're going to try to feed him on the national spotlight. He hasn't been getting a ton of shots, and that's really like when the USC downfall is when the guards get overconfident. I mean, in the past couple games, they've made shots when they've ignored the Mobley brothers, but I'm not going to take that one. The other one I saw, Ky, was Joel Ayayi over 1.5 threes.
I'd buy that.
I kind of like. I mean, he came out very confident last round. I think he had taken like 6 threes before the 10-minute mark in the first half. That was clearly part of the Creighton plan, was like, all right, Ayayi and Nembhard have to beat us, and they did. So I would probably lean towards the over there, but nothing super strong.
Yeah, I got nothing. Like I said, I think if you're looking to pick a player, maybe Jalen Suggs is a guy who I think is due for a breakout, but we don't run models on projected points per player. We're not quite that sophisticated yet behind the scenes, so just kind of giving you our gut lean takes here. Well, folks, that concludes another short and sweet episode. We will be back coming to you Friday. Is that correct? To talk Final Four action. I believe my schedule is current. We will go all the way deep into every possible angle on that matchup. We'll try and shake it up, maybe do a little different format since we have the entire show to talk about just essentially 2 games there. And then obviously the title game. We will hit that as well the following week.
Yeah, Monday morning
when that's live. And then we will all sing Kumbaya and cry our, we just pay an ode to the chat mob. What a great season it's been. Appreciate all of you. But until that time, good luck tonight on your wagers. Go favorites. We'll see you on Friday.